Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for logging in today to join us. We'll just commence in just a moment. We'll allow people to kind of trickle in progressively. So we'll start the presentation in just 1 minute, so please stand by. Okay, great. So I think we can get started. So hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where in the world you're dialing in from. Thank you for joining us today for our MBA and MBAN Dual Degree launch event. So whether you're a current MBA student, you're considering an MBA, or you're looking into the Masters of Business Analytics, it's great that you can join us to learn more about careers in tech and finding your dream career and expanding your network. We're going to start off with an overview of the dual degree, and then we'll get into the panel portion of today's sessions where we'll all be connecting and engaging with alumni from both the MBA and MBAN. And we'll be chatting about their experience with working in tech and analytics. So make sure you're typing up any questions you have for them in the chat so that we can definitely address them in the panel portion of today's session. We'll also have some time today towards the end of the session where you will be moderating any kind of program and admissions related questions. So make sure you're typing up any questions that come to you in the chat box. Before I start, I'd like to acknowledge that UBC's Vancouver Point Grey campus is situated on the traditional ancestral territory of the Musqueam people. I would also like to acknowledge that you're joining us today from many places near and far, and acknowledge the traditional owners and caretakers of those lands. Leading the presentation today, in addition to myself, so for those of you who I have not had the pleasure of connecting with yet, I'm Natalie Seresterfil, and I'm a recruitment and admissions manager at the business school, and I oversee the Masters in Business Analytics. So we'll call that the MBAN from here on out, as well as the MBA MBAN Dual Degree. I'm joined here today with my colleague, Kevin Lee. Kevin, give a little wave. Kevin also oversees the MBA as well as our specialty Masters in Management program. So Kevin will be leading the panel portion for today's session. So you'll hear more from Kevin in just a little bit. So please stay tuned for that. And now I'd like to start off with a quick overview of the MBA and MBAN and how the dual degree came about before we get into the fun and engaging panel portion of today. So Sauder actually launched a new dual degree program earlier this year, which combines the MBA and MBAN to respond to an increasingly data-driven marketplace. What this program does is it combines both programs so that students can actually have the opportunity to graduate with 2 world-class degrees. So there's the MBA, which provides a rigorous, relevant, and global business education. And then there's the MBAN that will deepen students' knowledge of analytical know-how, and they'll gain insight into how to collect, process, and analyze data. So very robust program. This dual degree option is geared towards motivated professionals who want to both gain specialized knowledge in data analytics, as well as develop their leadership and management skills. Graduates will have a combination of managerial expertise by the end of the day, as well as analytical skills, because these are some key areas that are really in demand from employers across a variety of industries, especially in more recent years. So in just 24 months, you'll earn 2 master's degrees from our top 2 ranked programs. And that's faster than if you were to be taking the degrees separately. So this is a great way to set yourself apart by gaining expertise in both the field of business as well as in the global context and the field of business analytics. This program is offered right here where Kevin, myself, and some of our alum are dialing in from, Vancouver. So the program is offered right here in the heart of Vancouver, which is actually known as the Silicon Valley of the North. And Vancouver also happens to be Canada's fastest growing metropolitan economy, and even job boards will tell you that. So there's definitely no shortage of opportunities and demand for people with these credentials over here. The program actually starts with the MBA portion. So for the first 12 months, you'll have MBA programming, you'll develop your business knowledge through our foundational courses, and you'll gain the critical knowledge for understanding processes and how to navigate through today's business environment. You'll then be taken into your focused career track, and this allows you to specialize in a given area. You'll also get to participate in a global immersion experience where you can gain an international perspective by going abroad and consulting with an international company. And often this is a company that UBC has a relationship with, so you get to help support this organization in helping solve a real life business challenge. During the summer months, there's no class because our students are participating in a paid internship or an entrepreneurial project. So this is where students really get to apply the knowledge that they gain from the program, and they do this and they earn about $6,000 a month. And most of these opportunities happen in the Vancouver area, which is a great way to add to your local, a great way to add a local company to your resume. However, some of these opportunities are out of province, and in some cases they can also be international as well. In addition to the core curriculum that you take within the MBA portion, you can also choose from one of 4 career tracks. So each track focuses on a specific discipline while broadening and deepening your understanding of business. So if you prefer, you can also work with us to develop a custom track, which can be tailored to your specific interests and specialization. So you can really personalize your MBA journey here. And then getting into year 2 of the program, this is the curriculum that's focused on the MBAN side of things. So this portion of the program is really equal parts data analysis and big picture business decision making. This really helps bridge these 2 worlds so that students can become an effective translator between the world of data, tech, and business. The curriculum really covers anything from marketing to operations, in addition to advanced analytics, so that students will be able to interpret data within a broader business context. And this component of the program also includes a paid internship component. So this is where students get that hands-on experience as a business analyst in an industry of their choice. So looking at the MBA and the MBAN curriculum as a whole, it's designed to help graduates gain the skills to lead in an evolving digital age so that they can learn to lead in technology industries and consult with dynamic technology-based companies and deepen their skills in data analysis and visualization. So, some of the more popular courses focused in these areas could be data visualization, AI commercialization, business development for scaling up, customer analytics, automation, predictive analytics, machine learning. And what we're seeing is that a lot of our alum who have these skills do end up landing into roles within technology consulting, product management, business analysis, business intelligence, and process improvements. And lucky for our students, Vancouver, in addition to being such a tech hub, also offers a variety of lots of variety and diversity in terms of the industries that our students are going into. So, a lot of our students are going into finance, consulting, healthcare, natural resources, retail, manufacturing, construction, transportation, and of course, there are more as well. So these opportunities and the partnerships that we have, that some of them you might recognize these logos on screen, these opportunities can really be leveraged during the internship portion, as well as for future full-time employment also. And one of the wonderful benefits of that our students gain access to is the fact that they get to take advantage of the fact that UBC is the only Canadian school that's part of the global network of advanced management. This is a program that's spearheaded by Yale Business School, and which enables our students to take courses and modules at over 30 other highly ranked and highly recognized universities globally. So essentially, this is your opportunity to take advantage of our global network courses, wherein you can, take credits and attend classes at one of our other network schools, and really leverage the global academic community internationally, and take advantage of the faculty and those wonderful resources that some of our other partnered highly ranked universities have. So for instance, you in our some of the courses that can be taken during our global network weeks could be, you could attend a university in Shanghai and say take a course on sustainable growth, or you could go to Yale Business School in Connecticut and say take a course on behavioral science or behavioral management, or maybe even Berkeley and learn about corporate social responsibility. So these are just a few examples. And as a UBC student and ongoing as an alumni, you get to leverage a very valuable resource that we have. So that's our personalized career coaching. And I can't emphasize how important this has been for our students and how much they value this resource. Essentially, you get your dedicated career manager who is trained to make sure that you're career ready and ready to network, apply for roles, interview. You'll go through mock interview workshops. You'll develop your own personal brand, and you'll gain access to some key personal and professional development resources, and gain access to lots of great trainings, workshops, connect with alumni, and engage in a lot of networking with through some of our company tours and visits. And the mentorship is wonderful as well. You'll also gain access to job boards that are meant for UBC Sauder students only. And this is sourced by our Business Career Center and our Business Development team. Our Career Center has worked with students so that our alumni and our students have secured some great positions, not only in Vancouver, primarily in Vancouver, but also across the country, and in many cases in our students' home countries and around the world. And Sauder's curriculum, and besides being, focused around helping students better understand themselves, the business career also helps our students so that they can increase their self-awareness during their journey as an MBA student, as well as a Master's in Business Analytics student, so that they can more effectively work with others, build better relationships in both their professional and their personal lives, and just overall become more creative and innovative and powerful as leaders and members in the organizations that they're working with. Our employment programs, our employment outcomes for both programs have been rather strong. As you can see on the screen here, a majority of our students have secured gainful employment, full-time employment some of them before they graduate, and almost close to all within 3 months of graduating. So I'm going to say there's about 10% or so every year that go off to pursue their own entrepreneurial ventures or entrepreneurial projects. after graduation, and we do support that path as well. We have a lot of great entrepreneurial resources on campus so that they can leverage those mentorship opportunities also. That is in line with their future goals. And some of the common job titles that our students with both analytical and business backgrounds are going into are roles such as head of analytics, for instance, or business intelligence manager, business analytics manager. So, you know, our alumni at the end of degrees similar to these end up leading analytically focused projects or analytical teams. Looking at our admissions requirements for the program, at Sauder, as you all know, we do have a very holistic way of evaluating things when it comes to our admissions requirements. So yes, we look at GPA and we look at how you perform on the GMAT GRE. This is, after all, a competitive and an academically rigorous program. So we do look for, you know, those high caliber students who can keep up with the program's pace. It is quite fast paced, a lot of information that you're gaining and growing from throughout the program. And in terms of work experience, we do require a minimum of 2 years full-time work experience as well as 2 references. So the references can be either professional or academic. We do have a preference for professional supervisory, so do keep that in mind. And as part of the application, you'll see that there's some essays that you'll have to complete. You'll also be asked to submit a 90-second video, which essentially is an opportunity for you to communicate to us and let us know why you're looking at this program. How do you think it'll align with your short-term, your long-term goals? And it's our way of really seeing your personality come through, your communication skills, and your overall fit, and really understanding your why for wanting to pursue the program. And in terms of the language proficiency test, this only applies to those who earned their bachelor's or their master's degree previously from an academic institution where the primary language of instruction was not English. So if your primary language of instruction was English during your degree because you attended an institution where the language of instruction was English, you were exempt from having to take this exam, and you would not be required to do so. And then if you tick off kind of all these boxes, then you would get invited for a virtual interview. And that's kind of the last stage in the admissions process. Generally, once you have your interview, you're kind of close to getting a decision and a response from the committee on the status of your offer. So our deadlines, our first deadline for this dual degree is approaching in just a few weeks. So October 26th at the end of this month. So make sure you are taking advantage of our scholarship opportunities, lots of scholarship incentives attached to that first deadline, and maximizing your scholarship opportunities. If you wanted to do that, early application submission is a great way to do that. And in the meantime, make sure you're leveraging resources like Kevin and myself so that you're able to put your best foot forward during the admissions process. So yes, you can apply online. I'll leave some contact details on screen for you all to take note of. And make sure you're frequently checking our info sessions page for our upcoming events. I'll circle back to some of the upcoming events we'll be having later on in the session. But now I'd like to hand things over to Kevin, who will be introducing some of our alumni, and Kevin will be launching the panel portion of this event. So thank you so much, Kevin. Over to you.
Great. Excellent. Thank you, Natalie. So now we really move on to the stars of the show today. And I'd love to introduce our alumni panel one by one in alphabetical order. So alumni, if you haven't yet, when I announce your name one by one, you can turn on your camera and give a little wave, and we'll make sure to spotlight you. So everyone give a virtual round of applause. I'd love to first bring up Artyom. So Artyom is a 2019 graduate of the UBC MBA. He has experience working in the nonprofit sector at organizations such as MyTax and Creative Destruction Lab, and has also worked at KPMG and IBM. And he's currently a strategic foresight. He currently oversees strategic foresight at the Digital Technology Supercluster. So hi, Artyom. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, pleasure to join this panel.
Okay. Next up, we have Baris, Baris Tan. So Baris is a 2019 MBAN graduate and also has a background in industrial engineering. He has interned at Microsoft and Boeing, and after obtaining his MBAN, he worked at KPMG, Tech Resources, before returning to Boeing, where he is currently a data scientist. So hi, Baris. Welcome to the chat today.
Hello, everyone.
Next up, we have Bert Lee. So Bert is a 2019 MBAN alum, and he also did his BCom here at Sauder, specializing in business technology management and finance. He has experience with a variety of co-op positions that focused on business analytics, and he is currently a senior consultant at Deloitte. So hi, Bert. Okay. Next up, hi, Bert. How are you doing?
Hey, good. Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you. Okay, next we have Haider. Haider is a 2015 graduate from the Master of Management and Operations Research, which has now been modified and is known as the Master of Business Analytics. Since graduating, he's worked as a business analyst for Electronic Arts and then transitioned to Microsoft. He's been with Microsoft for about 3 years, and he is currently a senior data scientist at Microsoft. So hello, welcome to the alumni panel today.
Hi, nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you. And last but not least, we have Mark Chen. Mark is a 2017 graduate of the MBA program. He holds a Bachelor of Science in Biochemistry and Chemistry with honors here at UBC, as well as a PhD in Biological Chemistry from MIT. He's currently a growth strategist at MobSquad. And prior to this, he led the supply chain data analytics team at Mountain Equipment Co-op and was also a consultant with the Boston Consulting Group. So hi, Mark.
Nice to meet everybody. So most of my background was in consulting. Happy to answer any questions for folks that are interested in transitioning into consulting. And my academic background is in biochemistry, so happy to answer any questions about anybody from STEM wanting to go into business.
Great, wonderful. I'm sure we're going to really dive into a lot of these topics. I'm sure our audience today is really, really interested. I'm going to definitely dive into Q&A from our audience today. So we highly encourage you out there to throw your questions into the Q&A and we'll get to them one by one. We would probably say hold your admissions questions until the end, where Natalie and I will tackle those. So if you have questions for our panel, this is really the time for you to throw them into the Q&A box of the webinar, okay? So while we wait for questions to come in, I'm probably going to start with a pretty easy question just to start things off. So in the same order that I asked you to introduce yourself, can you name one thing that your MBA or MBAN taught you that has proved very useful in your career right now? This could be hard skills, soft skills, ways of thinking, frameworks, anything that comes to mind. So why don't we start with Artyom? Would you like to start us off?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I would say that like probably one thing that I would like to mention from my MBA experience is opportunity to network with a lot of brilliant people and with basically build my community or network here in Vancouver. Through like different ways. So I participated in Creative Destruction Lab course. I supported many startups there. I was part of Tech Entrepreneurship course, and I worked with brilliant mentors and coaches. I was part of UBC Launchpad program and run my own company here. Started actually my own company here in Vancouver and learned how to do it properly in the right way, where the startup should focus, what are the questions that we should ask first, what is the way to conduct like product market fit and interviews. So a lot of questions and a lot of knowledge and learning here from the way how to do entrepreneurship properly, right? I had my own experience before joining Sauder, so I run my own business back in Russia, in Moscow. I'm originally from Moscow. And I learned a lot of what I learned here at Sauder. It was like a way for me to realize a lot of mistakes that we did in the past when we started our own business back in Russia. So it was a great way for me to learn the whole entrepreneurial journey and to understand how like structure it in a right way.
Yeah, great. I'm glad that you were able to take advantage of a lot of the entrepreneurial resources that we have here on campus for our students. So thank you so much. Okay, Baris, what about yourself? Was there anything that you took from your time as an MBAN that you still use today?
Yeah, I would say all, because if you think about MBAN, it's a very broad spectrum. So you can become a data scientist or you can become a consultant. So we have both in the goal actually. So you can go in both directions, both technical direction and both in the business direction. And as an engineer, I think I was lacking both. So if you are, for example, good in technical skills, you can actually learn a lot from business. You can learn marketing, you can learn supply chain. But if you're coming from a business school where you don't have any computer science background, you can actually learn coding. You can learn operations features, optimization, simulation. For me, I was an engineer, so as I said, I think I was lacking both. So I think I gained both skills, and I'm still using both, both technical and soft skills.
Very cool. Thank you. What about yourself, Bert? What is something that you took with you from the program?
Yeah, so I'm a graduate of the MBAN program from 2 years ago. My background before that was graduate from the Bachelor's of Commerce, so I had no hard skills per se. And MBAN taught me a lot of hard skills in terms of just looking at analytics in different ways, learning about what models to use, how to apply them, as well as just in general coding abilities and skills like that. Although I gotta say right now in my job, I really don't code much or any at all. I'm really more so working on the business side to help build products. But the technical abilities that I did gain through MBAN really does help me when I work alongside developers, alongside like BI engineers, alongside data analysts and data scientists to better understand what they are doing. And it really does help me on the business side too when I am trying to build a product, for example, for a client. So I would definitely say that given my background as just a pure BCom major, that MBAN was a great way of filling some of the gaps in my technical knowledge, and it really does help me today.
Great. Thank you. Okay, maybe next we'll have Haider speak.
Hey, yeah, so for me, like in my experience, what I've seen over the years is that like communicating your ideas effectively and coherently is a really good skill to have. Doesn't matter if you're on the really technical end of the spectrum or on the business side, as long as you can communicate your ideas effectively, present your results, present your findings, your proposals to the higher management effectively, that is a really key indicator for success in your career. So what I learned, I came from a technical background, and what I learned was presenting my ideas. We almost had presentations in almost all of the classes, and I am a firm believer of learning by repetition. So it's basically what we did, present over and over again, and eventually I couldn't I didn't realize, but I was actually improving a lot in presenting my ideas. So that's the skill I would like to share with everyone here.
Great. Thank you. And what about you, Mark? What is something that you took from your time in the MBA into your career right now?
Yeah, there's a lot of useful tools. If I were to pick one, I would probably say change management, which sounded, I think, a little bit similar to what Haider is describing. So when I was working as a consultant, I've always thought that if I do a good analysis and I explain the results and the recommendations clearly to my client, they would just go ahead and implement whatever it is that I'm recommending. But half the times they did and half the times they didn't. And I never really understood why. And so change management helped me better understand how I should view my clients in terms of which one of them might be supporters, which one of them might be detractors. How do I resolve some of these roadblocks and put myself in their shoes in terms of how they might view my recommendation and how it affects them before I actually give the presentation, so that it has a much higher chance of getting adopted.
Great, thank you very much. And thank you everyone for kind of sharing your thoughts, and that's obviously that transferability of skills and knowledge that you put into your career today. We have quite a few questions coming in. I do encourage our audience to continue pumping those questions into the Q&A. Since we left off with Mark, there's a question specifically here for Mark. So we have one of our attendees asked, do you have any specific advice for STEM students aiming to go into business or consulting? Is a master's degree like the MBA or the MBAN a path that you would recommend?
So there's a lot of different angles to this. I mean, in general, doing an MBA is an opportunity for anybody to pivot into something different. So in any kind of normal career, if you're interviewing for something that's not similar to what you're currently doing, you're gonna get asked, why are you interested in transitioning and pivoting into something new? If you're just completed the MBA, that it completely makes it so that you don't really have to answer that question. It's clear that in the MBA, you're going to learn new things, you're going to become interested in new things, and that transition into something new just comes very natural. It's what people would expect. So that's one of the benefits, I think. The other is that it's just the exploratory nature of the MBA program. An MBA program is not a specialization like you might do, like a master's degree in a particular field in science. It's a very broad program. You're not going to become an expert in one particular area, even if you take all the courses that are offered in the MBA in that particular area. What they're really trying to do is help you be a manager, somebody that has a broad overview of that general business area, so that you can leverage your past experiences and other things and manage a group of other folks. So that's I think that, to me, that's the benefit for doing the MBA. And sorry, was there another part of that question that I missed?
No, I think any specific advice for STEM students aiming to go into business consulting, I think you answered that quite a bit there.
In terms of advice, I think everybody recognizes that when you're in the MBA program or in the MBAN program, it's a very, very diverse group of students. So you're going to have some that come from a business background that might have done a BCom, and some that would have zero business background at all. And so what I find the culture at Sauder is that the students recognize that amongst each other. They go out of their way to help each other because everybody has their own strengths and weaknesses. So it's not something that you need to worry about in terms of how you're going to transition from a STEM program into an MBA program.
Great, thank you, Mark. Okay, I have a question here that's actually for all of our panelists. How prepared did you feel entering the job market when graduating from the UBC MBA or the MBAN? Maybe we'll take two perspectives here. I'll go to Artyom. Maybe you can speak a little bit, given that you came from Russia over here as an international student, and then maybe we'll go to Bert, and then he can talk about it from more of a domestic perspective. So I'll repeat the question again. How prepared did you feel entering the job market when you graduated from your program, Artyom?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for me, I think I did actually a very important job during my MBA. So I work, as I mentioned, I networked a lot. I met a lot of people, and I really kind of prepared my way out of MBA to be employed. So I would say that from my side, I never stayed unemployed. So right after MBA, I was hired by one company, then I moved to another company, then to another company. I have no issues at all with finding a job here. But as I mentioned, you need to be cautious about this, right? You need to prepare and understand where you want to go and trying to network, especially like for me, I was new to the city, I was new to the country. Right, so it was important for me to attend like different events, to meet people, to kind of interact and see where the opportunities are. Right, and as I mentioned, Creative Destruction Lab was very instrumental in this sense, because I was connected with both with entrepreneurs, but also with venture capital firms, with angels, with like different organizations that are in this area. Right, so I think it's so no issues at all with employment, but you need to do homework basically and do your work here at Sauder, like when you are doing your degree.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for that advice. I think everyone here in the panel would agree that there's only so many resources we can provide. It's really up to the student to meet us in the middle and to take advantage of those resources and opportunities. What about yourself, Bert? Was there anything, how did you feel coming out of the program and looking for work?
Yeah, in terms of being prepared or not entering the job market after graduating, I felt relatively pretty prepared. I would say that's not a phenomenon exclusive to me. Most of the members in my class had pretty strong career opportunities and they found jobs relatively easily, I would say, at least the year that I graduated from MBAN. Specifically for me, entering into a non-technical role, just consulting in general at a Big Four company, this, I think the MBAN alone already gives you quite a bit of practice in two ways. First, there are a lot of cases that you end up doing, whether it's technical or just purely like business analysis. Those cases are pretty typical of some projects that you will see in consulting. And secondly, this is more important, the soft skills of constantly working in different teams all the time, doing tons of presentations, as well as working with a diverse range of teammates from different backgrounds, different experiences. It's also something you encounter quite frequently in consulting. So those two combined made me feel pretty prepared going to my current role.
Okay, great. And then I have a follow-up here for you, Bert, in the Q&A. Was it challenging for you to catch up with sort of that technical, the technical requirements of the program and what it was teaching, given that you come from a commerce background? You don't come from, like a computer science background.
Yeah, this is a good question. So I myself was quite worried before joining MBAN because I had like zero coding or technical knowledge. I think I haven't taken a math course in definitely that time in 5 years or so. So because of that, I was quite worried, to be honest, that I would just die with all the technical analysis, coding, and all those things. It really wasn't as bad as I thought. You're going to have to put in a lot of work, as did most of my classmates in my position without that background. But the program MBAN itself does give you a lot of resources. You're not going to be left drowning in the pond per se. You will have the resources you need and the coaching you need from teachers and from classmates to really go along the way. So typically, I would say it's not going to be that big of a deal, even if you have zero experience like me joining the program.
Great, thank you. Maybe this question I'll pose over to Baris and Haider. There was a question here is, what are some things that I should do prior to starting the program in terms of skills and courses and readings? What are the things I have to keep in mind or do while taking the program in order to succeed? And I'll let you kind of sit on that for a little bit before we go to you first, Baris. Just for everyone's knowledge, there is what we call a prep course that is available to every student when you start your program. So prior to starting your program, we will send you a list of free resources that you can take advantage of and just to kind of brush up your skills before you enter the program on the first day. But I'll put it over to our panelists. Baris, would you like to start us off? What are some things that someone who wants to optimize their success should do?
Yeah, definitely. So first of all, MBAN program is pretty technical, and myself, I also had almost zero coding knowledge coming into MBAN, and after 1 year, my first job was a data scientist. So I would say prior to that, you can find many courses. There is Coursera. You can go to LeetCode to work on some simple coding. There's HackerRank, specifically designed for data scientists. But more important than that, I think you should make MBAN really valuable by putting a lot of effort during your MBAN, by participating all these hackathons. You can go to Kaggle. You can participate in a global hackathon. I think prior to that, yes, you can do a lot of stuff, but for me, I would recommend making the most out of it during MBAN by following these exercises. Because as a data scientist, you need to prove the employer that you don't have a background, but you need to prove that you can code, you can do some advanced analytics.
Great, thank you. What about you, Haider?
Hey, yes, so a similar answer to Baris. Would like to elaborate some of the points a little bit more. So I came in to the program with zero job experience, and I quickly found out that in Canada, like or anywhere in the world, it's hard to get a first job. And mostly like now even us, I'm on the other side hiring for data scientists. What we look for is applied skills or applied knowledge, something to show for. So my recommendation or my advice is that as you go through the program, like try to create a profile for you where you can like in addition to how the project is presented in class, but try to put it somewhere, like try to create a profile for you as you go, like maybe create your GitHub page, or maybe you can even host your free like a website, pretty easy to set up with GitHub, and then keep putting all the materials there as you go in the program. So you have some applied skills, applied projects to show for, and that's what really employers are looking for when someone applies for the job, if they can do the job and if they have something to show for it. So that would be my recommendation, is to build that portfolio as you go.
Awesome, great advice. Thank you so much. Okay, we have some great questions coming in, obviously. I think I'll pose this one to Mark and Artyom. What do you see are the biggest gaps for employers and new MBA graduates that is addressed through the MBAN program? So maybe think about a time when you were hiring for students and or maybe just graduates, and if there was any gaps that you wish MBAs had addressed during their time in the program. Maybe we'll start with you, Mark.
Yeah, it's actually pretty simple. I mean, I've hired about 20 folks. So I've managed 2 different analytics teams in my former 2 jobs, and I hired about 15 people into those jobs. And my hiring philosophy has changed over the years. The simple thing is that it's just very rare to find somebody who has both a business background and a technical understanding. It's very rare. I mean, in terms of just supply and demand when it comes to jobs, it's very easy to find somebody with just a business background. Like Haider graduates 150 MBAs each year. When my previous company did recruiting at Rotman, 300 MBAs would show up. So there's quite a lot of people in that camp. Likewise, if I want to hire somebody who is just proficient at coding, who can do machine learning, there's a lot of programs that fit that description. I can hire somebody with a traditional stats and math background. I can hire somebody with a software engineering background. UBC itself has a data science program from the computer science department. I've also hired a lot of great economists that kind of think in terms of the same kind of problem solving skills. So those 2 groups are pretty large, but it's extremely rare to find somebody who can talk the talk on both sides. So I'm actually teaching a course. I'm teaching one of the courses in the MBAN program this fall, and for marketing research, I've talked to about 5 other folks that are managers, directors, VPs in analytics, and it's very unanimous that they tell me the exact same thing. And so I think that's kind of the purpose for this joint program. I mean, none of us here in the panel have the ability to take part in this program. It wasn't available when we were going to school, but I think this is the kind of program that would give you that dual perspective. For both business and technical.
Great, thank you so much, Mark. Artyom, what about yourself? Is there anything you'd like to add to that, or anything that you've seen in your experience?
Yeah, I totally agree with Mark. Yeah, I agree with that's a unique perspective of both like business and analytical. I think it's a brilliant opportunity, and we didn't have this. Yeah, but also I want to add to this something. So I think that Vancouver also is like a capital of entrepreneurship, right? There are, apart from you mentioned, Kevin, there are like big companies as well, but there are a lot of small companies too, right? And for the small companies, what I see in terms of entrepreneurships, it's really tough also to find the people who know specific industry, right? For example, for healthcare startups, they're looking for people who know healthcare sector very well, right? But from other side, they're looking for people who know the business side of the things as well, right? So I think there is kind of, it's not really a gap, but it's, I think it's opportunity for all the people who are currently working in different sectors and different environments to kind of come here and get this degree and be a unique resource that you can apply your knowledge from your previous industry or sector to the startup world as well, right? And apply it to a specific like a company and also from our side know this business perspective, right? I think it's kind of unique as well. On top of this, of course, on top of this very precious analytical view and this opportunity to learn it on a way, but also this business side of things in a specific industry.
Great, wonderful. Thank you for that. And it definitely seems like this program has come at a pretty good juncture right now, a good point in time to provide students with both of those fundamental skill sets that both of you mentioned. Okay, I had another question here. Maybe I'll bring it over to Baris and Haider. Could you talk more about your internship experience during your program and how they help prepare you for your full-time position afterwards? Maybe we'll start with Haider and then we'll go over to Baris.
Yeah, for me, it was super helpful. And the reason being is that I didn't have any prior experience, job experience. So it was a way for me to get some hands-on experience on the business side and the technical side before even getting into the market. So we were, it exposed us to both technical aspects and the business aspects. So we were required to present to the stakeholders we were interning at. And we also were coding and coming up with a solution for their business. So for me, that really helped me get project under my belt, and I could really talk about that project in my first interview for a job.
Great. Over to you, Baris. What about you?
Yeah, for me, this question is actually right on point because I did my internship with Boeing, and right now I am working with Boeing, and there are a few examples like this. So for me, I really wanted to become a data scientist, but prior to the program, I didn't have any coding experience, and I didn't have anything to showcase that I am capable of doing that. And luckily, in our project, we were 3 people, and we divided each task so that I was actually owning the data science portion of it, which helped me to gain that expertise to showcase. And right now, we were presenting that to a board of 4 people at Boeing, and 3 of them are right now my colleagues. So I would say that went pretty well.
Great. Yes, definitely kind of that workaround and being able to come back to that company is a huge, huge reason like why the internship is such a great stepping stone. So thanks so much, Baris. This is a question for Bert. So Bert, Eric noticed that you mentioned you work with developers and data scientists. Can you maybe walk us through like a typical project that you're involved in? Is there much mobility switching between tech consultant and developer, or what would you say is there a good transition? And maybe you can give us an example of a project that you've worked on.
Yeah, so to give some context, in consulting, there's a wide range of projects depending on what team you're on, industry, and specific focus. To give some context on the last project that I was on, I spent about a year or so on a long project where we worked directly with the client to build up their CRM platform, customer relationship management platform, from the ground up. That entailed me on the business side, which we call functional, working directly to lead the daily development efforts throughout all the sprints of the project in an agile methodology for about a year straight. So I had to work with developers nonstop every day. I also worked with the people on the data side when it came to integrations like BI as well as data science when necessary to look at reporting, dashboarding, and all of those things. When it comes to how I worked with them, it was really more so me interpreting the needs of the business on a product perspective, working with other teams such as marketing, QA, finance, and so forth, and using that knowledge to then bring back and guide the development efforts on the dev side. So that's pretty much the context of the project I was on, and that is why I had to work a lot with technical folks, and that's where the skills from MBAN came into play to provide that technical context for me. When it comes to switching between a consultant and a developer, that is certainly possible within large companies like any Big Four company, for example. You always have the option of mobility just because the company engages across so many industries and so many different types of work. So if you did want to switch between, let's say, consulting versus pure dev, the options are certainly out there for you if you join a company like Deloitte, for example.
Great, thank you so much, Bert. Okay, so we are coming close to the end of our Q&A period here. Time certainly flies when you're having fun. Maybe if one or two more questions here. Maybe I'll pose it to Mark. Yeah, for people who are looking to enter the MBAN MBA Dual Degree, they have to have about 2 years of experience. For you, what was the big impetus for you to leave a full-time job and jump into an MBA full-time? Like what were some factors that you had to consider or that really pushed you to consider a full-time MBA program?
I think my answer is probably not going to be that relevant for most folks. You might have to get another panelist. For me, I was going to grad school and working in Boston for 11 years. And when my parents retired, I wanted to come back to Vancouver, be in the same city as them. I think one thing that kind of just jumped out at me is like the quality of the professors and the cost of the tuition at UBC. I think in terms of value, it's pretty hard to beat the Sauder MBA program at that time. Because when I was in Boston, I was working with a lot of people with an MBA degree as my clients, and I knew that I needed to get a business background in order to work well with them. But when I evaluated MBA programs in the States, I just thought it was way too expensive. Like the ROI was not worth it. So I just never considered doing an MBA until I decided to move back to Vancouver. I don't know why I was looking at Sauder MBA, but I was looking at it and I was like, oh, this seems like it's worth doing. So my situation is like a little bit specialized. I made a decision to come back to Vancouver first. I was going to be between jobs anyways. And then I happened to find the opportunity to consider the MBA program.
Great, awesome. Well, thanks for sharing your story. I actually didn't even know that. So yeah, I think that's a good way to maybe, just to kind of tell everyone and talk to everyone here today in the audience. There are many different factors really pushing you to consider an MBA. It could be many factors, personal family matters. It could be a big decision to switch your career around. You could definitely, if you're pursuing the MBAN, look at joining a program right after you're done your bachelor's, as many of our panelists here have talked about. But there are many different reasons. And so I think this is probably a good time to pose any questions you have about admissions to Natalie and myself. You can certainly do so in the Q&A box. But before we even jump to this section, I did just want to thank all of our panelists today. Thank you all for taking the time out of your really, really, really busy schedules to help join this panel and talk to people about the benefits of not only doing an MBA or an MBAN, but the potential benefits of doing both degrees here at UBC. So if I could get a virtual round of applause from our audience here. Thank you so much to Artyom. Thank you so much, Bert, Baris, Haider. Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much for dedicating your time out here today. It's been a wonderful pleasure to have you on the panel. Thank you.
Good luck with your decisions. Take care. Bye.
Thank you,
panelists. Thank you so much. And thank you, Kevin, for leading that engaging discussion for our panelists. And with that, we do have a few moments leading to the end of the session. So I'd love to open things up for some admissions related Q&A. So thank you to some of you who have been kind of typing your questions in the question chat and in the question section of the webinar. One of the questions I'm seeing is with regards to internships and how the internship placements happen for both the MBA and MBAN. So that's a great question. So since this is a 24-month program and things kick off with the MBA portion and then segue into the MBAN portion for year 2, both components of the program have internships in the summer months. And so how the internships work is that often they come as a result of the partnerships that Sauder has with various different industries, primarily in Vancouver, but also across the country and globally. So we have our own internal job board, which is open and available to our Sauder students. So students will still be required to apply for these jobs and interview for them and prepare for them just as they would a job in the real world. The key difference here is that they're competing with their peers as opposed to global job markets. So this is how a lot of our internship placements happen. In the MBA side, you're consulting on a business project or a business problem, you're helping them solve that. And on the MBAN side, you're gaining those analytical skills as a business analyst. So in both internship opportunities, you're getting those hands-on experiences working in the field and gaining that work experience while you're a student. The MBA portion, you're working for about 4 months. The MBAN portion, you're working for about 3 months. So that's a solid amount of work experience before you hit the ground running. And to date, our placements for our internship opportunities have been very strong. I'm going to say close to 100% internship placement secured. There's always a few that go off to pursue entrepreneurial projects, and we do support those opportunities as well if our students are inclined that way also. So great question there. Let's see if we have any other questions here.
Yeah, there's a question right here. Maybe I can jump in to help out. Can you please explain about scholarships, who are eligible and how to apply? So the best part about applying here at UBC is that there is no separate application for scholarships. The application that you submit over to us for the program is the same one that we would also look at for scholarship consideration. About 35 to 45% of our class every year is eligible for scholarships. And if you check on our scholarships page for the program that you're interested in, you'll be able to see that there may be specific deadlines that are tied to certain scholarships. There may be specific criteria for some of our scholarships. But again, once you submit your application into us, that is the same application that we'll look at to consider scholarships. And when you find out about whether you're in the program, you'll also find out whether you received the scholarships from the graduate school. So thanks for that question.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, I think we have a quick question here about the GRE GMAT waivers. So I'll address that one. So we do have GMAT GRE waivers in place up until our second deadline, which is early January. So students with a certain academic background are welcomed to apply for a GMAT GRE waiver. All you have to do there is go on our website, onto our admissions page, look at our GRE GMAT waiver criteria. There's 4 elements. If you meet one of those 4 criteria, we ask that you self-assess whether you meet that criteria. You can definitely apply for a waiver by submitting a statement of qualifications. Your statement of qualifications is essentially a document in which you're explaining how and why you feel like you are eligible for this waiver. And that's kind of how the process works. And yes, those waivers are available up until early January. So if you are interested in assessing your eligibility for a waiver, I welcome you to apply early on. And with that, since we're on the topic of deadlines, I'll mention again that our first deadline is the end of this month on October 26th. So make sure you're leveraging our scholarship opportunities and taking advantage of those early deadlines to get your application in. In addition, in the weeks to come, we've got some really great engaging virtual sessions for you all to attend. So on October 13th, we have a design thinking workshop. So that's just next week, right around the corner. And on October 20th, we have a sample lecture, which will be focused on analytics and business analytics in Vancouver. So one of our top professors will be presenting and offering you a sample lecture as well. So make sure you're earmarking in your calendars those dates, October 13th and October 20th. And again, I want to thank you all for being here today and having this time with us. A sincere thank you to our panelists again, for each and every one of you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to log in and be here with us. And again, thank you to all our attendees. And with that, we'll say goodbye and hope to see you again at our next event. All the best.
All the best, everyone.